What if the person you believe yourself to be, the kind, patient, reasonable person you present to the world, is only half of who you are? And what if the other half, the half you have denied, ignored, and pushed into the darkness, is the one that is secretly running your life? There is a voice hidden beneath the voice you know. A psychic trap laid in the foundations of your own mind. The great physician of the soul, Carl Jung, warned us about it. He gave it a name. But it is a warning few have had the courage to truly hear. Because to hear it is to begin a journey from which you cannot return unchanged. If you are tired of being a stranger in your own house, if you are ready to finally turn and face the one who has been living in your basement, then take a slow, conscious breath. This is not a lecture. It is an excavation. Subscribe and join us on this path, for the most dangerous journey is the one we refuse to take, and you do not have to take it alone. Part 1. The Portrait of the Respectable I. Let us begin where we all live, in the well-lit rooms of our own self-image. Feel yourself here now, in this moment. Perhaps you are in your study, the scent of old paper and polished wood hanging in the air. Your desk is organized, a testament to a life under control. The light from your lamp pools onto a single open book, the words neat, the logic clear. Outside, the world is a distant hum, a problem kept at arm's length. Or maybe you are in your living room, the day's work done, a sense of quiet accomplishment settling over you like a warm blanket. The television is off. The silence is intentional, curated. You choose what comes into this space. You are the gatekeeper of your own peace. This is the person you know. This is the person you've carefully built, brick by brick, over decades. The good person. The responsible parent. The reliable colleague. The compassionate friend. You are thoughtful. You are, for the most part, kind. You value reason, civility, and control. When anger flashes, you swallow it down, choosing a more measured response. When envy rears its ugly head, you feel a pang of shame and quickly push it away, focusing instead on gratitude or your own blessings. When a dark, cruel, or selfish thought appears, you recoil from it as if from a snake. That's not me, the familiar voice in your head insists. I don't know where that came from. And you believe it. You have to believe it. Because the alternative is too terrifying to consider. Your identity, your sense of safety, your very place in the world is built upon the foundation of this respectable self. It is your ambassador to the world, your meticulously crafted mask. It smiles at the right times, offers condolences, remembers birthdays, and pays its taxes on time. It is a masterpiece of social engineering, and you are its proud curator. You spend your life polishing this portrait, adding touches of virtue here, erasing blemishes of weakness there. But, sometimes, in the dead of night when the house is still and the world is asleep, don't you feel it? A subtle draft from under a locked door. A flicker in the periphery of your vision. A sense that you are not entirely alone in your own home. A feeling that some other, wilder, more chaotic energy is pacing back and forth in a part of the house you never visit. You dismiss it, of course. A bad dream. Indigestion. Stress. You turn on the light, have a glass of water, and the feeling recedes. You return to the safety of the well-lit rooms, reassuring yourself that all is well, that you are who you believe you are. But the draft was real. The flicker was real. The presence was real. You have spent a lifetime perfecting the upstairs of your psychological house, making it presentable for guests. But you have done so by taking everything you deem ugly, unacceptable, or inconvenient, and locking it away in the basement. Every unacceptable impulse, every sinful desire, every weak emotion, every savage instinct. You have thrown it all down there, into the dark, turned the key and tried to forget it exists. But it does exist. And it has been growing. It has been feeding on your neglect. And that presence, that collection of all you have rejected in yourself, has a name. Jung called it the shadow. And it is the hidden voice that has been secretly shaping your destiny. Part 2. The shadow. Let's not be academic. Let's make this visceral. Imagine the psyche, your soul, is the house you live in. The persona, the good you, is the living room. It's clean, organized, everything in its place. The furniture is tasteful. The art on the walls is respectable. This is the room you show to visitors. But every house has a basement. And the basement of your psyche is where the shadow resides. What is in this basement? It is a chaotic, musty, and dark space. In one corner, chained to the wall, is a snarling, primal beast. This is your repressed rage, the raw, untamed aggression you were taught was bad as a child. In another corner, a small, weeping child huddles in the darkness. This is your vulnerability, your deep-seated grief, your terror of abandonment, all the feelings you were told made you weak or too sensitive. Over there, you can see the glittering, greedy eyes of a goblin hoarding everything it can find, This is your envy, your lust, your raw ambition, the parts of you that want and want shamelessly. It is a menagerie of the disowned. Everything you have ever decided is not me lives here. Now here is the psychic trap that Jung warned us about. You think that because you have locked the door, you are safe from what's in the basement. You believe that by ignoring it, you have neutralized it. This is the single greatest, most dangerous illusion of the spiritual path. The truth is the exact opposite. The more you ignore the shadow, the more power it accumulates. The more you pretend it isn't there, the more it controls you from below. How does it control you? It projects. It seeps through the floorboards. That coworker you despise with an irrational intensity? The one whose arrogance or incompetence drives you into a silent fury? That is your shadow you are seeing. You have projected your own disowned arrogance, your own deep-seated fear of incompetence onto them. They have become the screen for the movie playing in your own basement. That political figure, that celebrity, that group of people you judge with such self-righteous certainty? You are railing against a reflection. The qualities you condemn most loudly in others are almost always the qualities you have most fiercely repressed in yourself. It also controls you through sabotage. Why do you procrastinate on the very projects that could lead to your success? Why do you accidentally say the one thing that pushes away the person you love? Why do you find yourself time and again in the same self-defeating patterns as if guided by an unseen hand? That hand belongs to the shadow. The disowned parts of you do not want you to become too successful, too happy, too good, because that would move you even further away from them. Their sabotage is a desperate, subconscious cry for attention, for integration. It's the beast rattling its chains. It's the child weeping louder. The psychic trap isn't that the shadow exists. The trap is believing you can escape it. The only way out is through. The only way to freedom is to turn around, take a deep breath, and walk down the basement stairs. Part 3, where the I, divided to understand the shadow, we must become archaeologists of our own past. We must journey back to the time before the basement door was even locked. A time when we were whole. A newborn child has no shadow. A toddler in the throes of a tantrum is not bad. They are a pure, unfiltered expression of raw life force. They are anger. They are joy. They are desire. They are whole. So what happened? Where did the split occur? It happened in small, almost invisible moments. Moments of conditioning. You are 3 years old and you feel a hot surge of anger because your brother took your toy. You scream. You hit. You are pure, righteous rage. And then a giant figure, your parent, looms over you. Their face is a mask of disapproval. Their voice is sharp. Don't be angry. That's not nice. Go to your room and think about what you've done. In that moment, a profound lesson is learned. A psychic split occurs. The message is not, this behavior is inappropriate. The message received by the child's soul is, this part of me, anger, is bad. To be loved, to be safe, I must cut this part of myself off. And so, with the invisible scissors of self-preservation, you make the first cut. You take that raw, powerful energy of anger, you label it unacceptable, and you shove it down into the dark. The basement has its first resident. Another memory. You are 5. You fall and scrape your knee. The pain is sharp, tears well up in your eyes. You run to a caregiver wanting comfort. But you are told, boys don't cry. Be a big boy. Shake it off. Another cut. The message, vulnerability is weakness. My need for comfort is shameful. And so, your gentle, tender sadness, your natural human need for connection in pain, is banished to the basement to join the angry beast. It continues. At school, your wild, chaotic creativity is deemed disruptive. You are praised for staying within the lines, for conformity. So, your untamed artistic impulse is locked away. You express as selfish desire, you want something just for you, and you are called greedy. So, your healthy, life-affirming ambition is thrown into the dark. Every should and should not, every rule from your religion, your culture, your family became a new lock on the basement door. Over decades, this process becomes automatic. You are no longer even aware you are doing it. You have become your own jailer. The good person you are today is a carefully curated collection of acceptable traits, built upon a mass grave of everything else you are. But those disowned parts did not die. Energy cannot be destroyed, it can only be transformed or repressed. And repressed energy does not become peaceful. It becomes toxic. It mutates in the dark. The anger you repressed turns into passive aggression or chronic inflammation. The grief you denied turns into a nameless depression or an addiction. The ambition you shamed turns into bitter, corrosive envy of those who allow themselves to succeed. The shadow is not just a collection of memories. It is a living, breathing, and deeply wounded part of your own soul. And it is calling out for you. Not to destroy you but to be reunited with you so that you can finally be whole again. Part 4. The Unconscious Destiny. This brings us to the most famous and chilling of all Jung's warnings, the one that serves as the foundation for this entire exploration. He stated, with the stark clarity of a prophet, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Person in lotus position, let that statement sink into you like a stone dropping into a deep well. It will direct your life and you will call it fate. Think of the patterns in your life, the recurring dramas you swear you have no part in creating. The bad luck that seems to follow you. The way you always end up with the same kind of partner, the same kind of boss, the same kind of financial trouble. You look at these patterns and you feel like a victim. You say, "Why does this always happen to me?" You blame the world, you blame others, you blame God. You call it fate. But Jung is telling us that it is not fate. It is projection. It is the invisible architecture of your own disowned self, externalized. You have built a world that perfectly mirrors the contents of your own basement, and you are walking through it as if it were a foreign country. Let's get painfully specific. How do you meet your shadow in the world? Through the intense, irrational, emotional reactions you have to other people. This is the mechanism of projection. It is the psyche's clever way of showing you what you refuse to see in yourself. Think of someone in your life right now who triggers you. Someone who, for no logical reason, gets under your skin. Could be a public figure, a family member, a colleague. Now, what is the specific quality in them that you find so utterly intolerable? Is it their arrogance? Their victim mentality? Their laziness? Their need for attention? Pinpoint the exact trait. Now here is the work. Here is the key to unlocking the projection. You must be willing to entertain the possibility that this quality you so despise in them is a quality that exists, in some form within you, but that you have banished from your conscious awareness. This does not mean you are just like them. It means the energy of that trait lives in your basement. Perhaps you despise your boss's arrogance. Could it be that you have repressed your own ambition, your own desire to be recognized because you were taught it was egotistical? Your shadow's ambition, locked in the basement, now looks out through your eyes and sees someone else living that energy freely, and it screams in protest. Your intense judgment is the sound of your own chains rattling. Perhaps you can't stand your friend's victim mentality. Could it be that you have disowned your own vulnerability, your own moments of helplessness, because you were told to always be strong? Your inner weeping child sees someone else expressing the helplessness it is not allowed to feel, and it fills you with contempt. This is the hidden voice in action. It is not just the chatter in your head. It is the emotional charge of your projections. The people who trigger you most are not your enemies. They are your greatest spiritual teachers. They are mirrors held up by the universe, showing you the reflection of your own locked basement. And fate is simply the act of repeatedly, blindly walking into these mirrors, breaking them, and wondering why you are always bleeding. To make the unconscious conscious is to stop blaming the mirror and to finally, courageously, look at your own reflection. This is difficult work. It is uncomfortable. The ego, the respectable self you've built, will fight this tooth and nail. It will scream, "I am nothing like that person. This is nonsense." It will do everything in its power to keep you from looking in the mirror. To even consider this requires a level of courage and self-honesty that is rare. If you are still here, if you are willing to face this discomfort, then you are one of the few. You are choosing the path of the spiritual warrior over the comfort of the sleeping civilian. Acknowledge this courage in yourself. And if you feel this message is providing a map for this difficult territory, I invite you to click the like button. Let it be a signal that you are choosing courage. Let it be a light for others who are still afraid of their own basement. Every like, every share helps to normalize this deep, essential work, to create a culture where wholeness is valued more than perfection. Now let's turn this from a concept into a practice. A direct experience. We can call it the mirror exercise. I want you to bring to mind right now that person who triggers you. The one we just discussed. See their face in your mind's eye. Feel that familiar hot sour feeling of irritation or judgment. Now name the quality. Let's say it's control. You see them as a controlling micromanager. The next step is the descent into the basement. You must ask yourself with radical honesty, where does that same energy of control live in me? At first your mind will go blank. Nowhere. I'm easygoing. But stay with it. Be patient. Look for the subtlest traces. Do you try to control your children's choices for their own good? Do you try to control your partner's feelings by withholding affection? Do you try to control your own feelings by staying busy, by drinking, by eating? Do you try to control how others see you by perfecting your mask? Find it. Even if it's just a tiny seed. And when you find it, do not judge it. Simply acknowledge it. Ah, there it is. In that moment of acknowledgement, something magical happens. The projection begins to lose its power. The emotional charge you feel towards the other person begins to neutralize. You are taking your power back from the mirror. You are bringing a lost piece of yourself home. This is the beginning of integration. It is difficult, humbling, and utterly transformative. Part 5. The danger of the ignored shadow. What happens if we don't do this work? What happens if we hear this warning and choose to ignore it, to keep the basement door firmly locked? The shadow does not simply go away. A prisoner that is ignored does not become peaceful. It becomes more desperate, more cunning, more volatile. The repressed energy begins to leak out sideways, poisoning the house from below. You see it everywhere, in individuals and in the world at large. The deeply religious man who has fiercely repressed his natural human sexuality is the one who is discovered in a devastating scandal. His disowned lust, festering in the dark, grew into a monster that eventually consumed him. The peace-loving activist who denies their own aggression is the one who speaks with a quiet, seething venom, whose passive aggression can curdle the air in a room. The person who insists, "I never get angry," is the one whose body is riddled with chronic pain, with migraines, with autoimmune diseases. The repressed anger has turned inward, attacking the self instead of being expressed consciously. An ignored shadow will eventually possess you. You will find yourself in a sudden, inexplicable fit of rage, screaming things you don't mean, breaking things you value. Afterwards, you feel a profound sense of shock and shame. That wasn't me, you say, but it was you. It was the caged beast which, after years of starvation, finally broke its chains and went on a rampage. You see it in self-sabotage. You are on the verge of a great success, a loving relationship, a breakthrough. And you do something to destroy it. You miss the deadline. You start a fight. You fall back into an old addiction. This is the shadow at work. It fears the light. It fears the wholeness that will come with your success, because in that wholeness, it will have to be seen. Its sabotage is a desperate attempt to keep the house dark, to keep the dynamic familiar, to keep you small and safe in your misery. This is the psychic trap in its most potent form. You are living in a haunted house and you are the ghost. You are being manipulated by a part of your own consciousness that you refuse to acknowledge. You are a puppet and your own disowned self is pulling the strings. And the most insidious part of the trap is that it convinces you that you are a victim of external forces. You call it bad luck. You call it other people's fault. You call it fate. You never realize that the call is coming from inside the house. To refuse the journey into the basement is to condemn yourself to a life of this quiet haunting. It is to live a half-life, a life of profound inauthenticity, where you are constantly expending enormous amounts of psychic energy to keep the basement door locked. That energy, the energy you use to maintain your own inner prison, is the very energy you could be using to create, to love, to live fully. The choice to ignore the shadow is not a choice for peace. It is a choice for a slow psychic suicide. Part 6. The alchemy of integration. Now we arrive at the heart of the work, and the most misunderstood part of Jung's teaching. Hearing about the shadow can feel terrifying. It sounds like there is a monster inside of us that we must conquer, defeat, or destroy. But this is the old, dualistic way of thinking. This is not a battle. It is a rescue mission. The goal is not to kill the shadow, it is to integrate it. The goal is to walk down into the basement not with a sword but with a lantern, and to liberate the prisoners you have kept there. Integration is a process of alchemy. You are taking the raw, toxic, lead-like energy of the repressed shadow and transforming it into psychological gold. By realizing that every quality you banish to the basement contains a core of immense power and a vital life energy that you desperately need to be whole. You didn't repress the bad parts of you. You repressed the powerful parts of you. Let's go back to the prisoners in your basement. That snarling beast of pure rage? You have feared it your whole life. But if you approach it with the lantern of consciousness, you see it for what it is. It is not evil. It is the raw energy of assertion. It is the power to say no. It is the energy of boundaries. The reason you can't set healthy boundaries in your life, the reason you let people walk all over you, is because the very energy required to do so is chained up in your basement. To integrate this part of the shadow means unchaining the beast, taming it, and turning its raw aggression into conscious, focused, protective power. It becomes your sacred guardian. What about that weeping child, your disowned vulnerability? You thought it was weakness. But as you shine your light on it, you see that it holds the key to true connection. It is your capacity for empathy, for compassion, for intimacy. The reason your relationships may feel superficial or guarded is because the part of you that knows how to truly connect from the heart is shivering in the dark. To integrate the child is to bring it upstairs, to hold it, to comfort it, and to allow its softness and sensitivity to infuse your life. This weakness becomes your greatest strength in building loving, authentic bonds. And the greedy goblin, your disowned ambition and desire? You thought it was selfish. But in its raw energy is the life force itself. It is the drive to create, to build, to experience, to expand. Without it, life becomes a dull, gray, passionless affair. To integrate the goblin is to transform its raw greed into conscious passion. It becomes the fuel for your life's purpose, the engine for your creativity. This is the alchemy. You are not destroying your demons. You are discovering that they are your disowned gods, your exiled angels, distorted by neglect. The process of integration is the process of bringing them home. You listen to them. You ask them what they need. You find a conscious, healthy, and mature way to express their energy in your life. And as you do, you become more than just good. You become whole. You become real. You become powerfully, terrifyingly, beautifully alive. Part 7. The Golden Shadow, and here we must discuss a crucial, often overlooked aspect of this work. The basement is not only filled with monsters. Jung also spoke of something he called the Golden Shadow. This is perhaps the most subtle and tragic aspect of repression. We do not only repress the parts of ourselves we deem bad. We also repress the parts of ourselves we deem too good, too bright, too powerful. Think back again to your childhood. Perhaps you were a child filled with a brilliant, shining light. You were wildly creative, exceptionally intelligent, or possessed a profound spiritual sensitivity. But your environment could not handle your brightness. Perhaps your parents, mired in their own limitations, were intimidated by it. Perhaps your peers, in their insecurity, were jealous of it. You were told, don't be a show-off. Who do you think you are? Come back down to earth. And so, another cut was made. To be loved, to belong, you learned that you had to dim your own light. You took your brilliance, your divine talent, your radiant power, and you locked it away in the basement along with the monsters. You repressed your own gold. How do you find your golden shadow? In the exact same way you find your dark one, through projection. But this time you look not at the people you despise, but at the people you deeply, intensely admire. The people you put on a pedestal. That author whose wisdom astounds you. That artist whose creativity takes your breath away. That leader whose courage and integrity inspire you to tears. The feeling of awe and admiration you feel for them is the sound of your own golden shadow, weeping with recognition. You are seeing your own disowned potential externalized in another. The secret is this. You could not see that brilliance in them if it did not also exist as a potential within you. The intense admiration is the proof. You are projecting your own locked-away gold onto them. You say, I could never be that creative, that courageous, that wise. But the truth is you could. The capacity is within you. You have simply been taught to believe it belongs to someone else. The work of integrating the golden shadow is as crucial as integrating the dark one. It requires you to reclaim your own magnificence. It is the process of giving yourself permission to shine. It means looking at your heroes not as gods to be worshipped. I see you, and in you, I see the reflection of a part of myself that I am now ready to reclaim. It is to understand that their genius is a reminder of your own. Their courage is a call to your own. Their wisdom is an echo of the wisdom that lies dormant in your own soul. To integrate the golden shadow is to finally give yourself permission to be as great as you truly are. It is to open the treasure chest you hid in your own basement and to finally claim the riches that have been yours all along. Part 8. Living the whole life. What does it look like to live as an integrated being? What is the fruit of this difficult, courageous labor? It is not, as some might imagine, a state of perfect, blissful, unchanging peace. That is the goal of a life that fears the messiness of being human. The goal of an integrated life is not perfection. It is wholeness. To live a whole life is to have free access to all the rooms in your house. It means you can be both compassionate and fierce. You can be both vulnerable and strong. You can be both spiritual and ambitious. You are no longer trapped in the single, respectable room of your persona. You have the full range of your humanity available to you. When a situation calls for a firm boundary, you no longer swallow your needs to be nice. You can call upon the integrated energy of your inner warrior, your tamed beast, and speak your truth with clarity and power, without aggression but without apology. You can say no from a place of deep self-respect. When a moment of profound beauty or sorrow calls for an open heart, you no longer armor yourself for fear of being weak. You can call upon the integrated energy of your inner child, and weep with abandon, love with vulnerability, and connect with a depth that was impossible when you were hiding from your own feelings. You stop projecting. The world becomes less of a trigger and more of a miracle. You can see other people more clearly because you are no longer seeing them through the distorted lens of your own disowned parts. You can feel compassion for the arrogance of your boss because you recognize the frightened ego behind it. You can feel empathy for the victimhood of your friend because you have embraced your own capacity for helplessness. Judgment withers away, replaced by a quiet, grounded understanding. And a sense of humor about yourself begins to bloom. You can catch yourself in a moment of egoic pride or petty jealousy, and instead of shaming yourself, you can just smile. Ah, there's that part of me again. You develop a loving, compassionate relationship with all your inner characters. They are no longer prisoners in the basement. They are members of your inner council, each with a voice, each with a wisdom to offer. You become authentic. The mask of the persona becomes thinner, more transparent. People begin to respond to the real you because they can finally feel you. Your life, which may have felt like a performance, starts to feel like a dance. It is not always graceful. Sometimes you stumble. But it is always real. You are no longer living a half-life haunted by ghosts. You are living your one wild, messy, beautiful, and whole human life, with all of its darkness and all of its light. And that is a freedom beyond price. Part 9. The return home. And so we come to the final, quiet turn of the key. The ultimate epiphany of this journey inward. After all this work, the descent, the confrontation, the integration, you stand in the center of your psychological house, and you realize the profound, simple truth. The hidden voice of the shadow, the monster in the basement, was never your enemy. It was the most loyal part of you. It was the collection of all the parts of yourself you abandoned, who were simply waiting patiently in the dark for you to come back and get them. Their rattling chains, their sabotage, their projections, it was all just a desperate, distorted way of saying, "Don't forget about me. You are not whole without me." The psychic trap Jung warned us about was never the existence of the shadow. The trap was the rejection of it. The trap was the belief that you could become enlightened by cutting off half of yourself. The trap was the lie that wholeness could be achieved through self-mutilation. And in this final realization, the entire house is flooded with light. The basement is no longer a basement. It is simply another room. The monster is no longer a monster. It is a powerful ally. The weeping child is no longer a symbol of weakness. It is the source of your deepest connections. The war is over. Not because you won, but because you realized there was never anyone to fight. There was only yourself calling yourself back home. You are not the persona. You are not the shadow. You are the vast, loving awareness that holds both. You are the house itself. The one who contains the light of the living room and the darkness of the basement, and loves them both into wholeness. This is what it means to be truly human. Not to be perfect, but to be complete. Not to be pure, but to be real. The hidden voice has not been silenced. It has been heard. It has been understood. It has been welcomed into the council of your being. And in that welcoming, its desperate screams quiet down into wise counsel. You are no longer haunted. You are finally, peacefully, powerfully at home. This journey does not end. It is a lifelong practice of returning, of listening, of embracing. If you are ready to continue this courageous work of becoming whole, subscribe to this channel. You are not just a collection of acceptable traits. You are a universe. And it is time to explore all of it. Welcome home.